And now, Gimmick Infringement.
Welcome, everybody, to the Gimmick Infringement Podcast. I am Brad Winchester, and with me, as always, is my tag team partner, Tyler McDowell Blank. And Tyler, I cannot believe, we were talking in the pre-production meeting, I cannot believe WrestleMania weekend is upon us. This is nuts. How you doing?
Yeah, that it is. I'm blessed. I'm grateful that we're here. We spoke last episode that April is historically a very taxing, dynamic month, full with some W's, full with some wins, but just a busy time. And thus, we land in this conversation, Brad, of, oh man, we blinked a few times and it's already WrestleMania weekend once again. I know we're going to get into a lot of different discussions. Of course, we're going to talk about the big weekend that is in wrestling. We have a big match on Wednesday that I want to ask you about, which is actually not in WWE, but it's in AEW. I'm just going to tease, maybe build up some suspense there. But I also saw a really good movie that I can't wait to tell you more about. So we're going to get into Drop later. I also have a live event Jones, Brad,
Yes.
that...
Doing a lot of heavy lifting on this show.
Well, no. Yeah. This is just, this is true for this episode. But I actually have a question kind of branching off the live event Jones that I've been thinking about all weekend that I can't wait to hear your thoughts on. So it's going to be another great episode. I'm grateful for you. Very excited for what we're going to get into. But yeah, you're right, man. Here we are, another April, heading into Mania. How are you feeling? And by the way, do you have Good Friday off?
I do not have Good Friday off. No,
Us
no
neither.
Good Friday off.
What is that about? I remember
Yeah,
growing
I
up
don't know.
I thought we had it off.
I want to say that I did growing up. I'm going to check on this later, rest assured. Jess has Good Friday off, but she also works for Catholic Community Services, so Southern Arizona. So there is that. I just put her business out there. But I'm sure she's going to enjoy her Friday off. I will not. I know one talent that will have a Good Friday, and I know we will be having a Good Friday as well on Good Friday. I'm sure we'll talk about it later. I sent you that text and said, Good
Yes,
Friday.
Yes.
So we get to talk about that. Unless it's just in general, it's all of April, but I'm pretty sure that it's 425.
Malachi Black is returning, and we're very excited about this.
It's 425 is crazy. Okay.
Aleister Black. That's
Aleister. Yeah, Aleister.
I see. I got Adam Copeland down. It took me a few weeks, and now I got to transition to Malachi Black.
I got to rename my refrigerator. It can't be Malachi Black anymore. It's got to be something else.
True that.
Alabaster Black, I guess. We'll go with that. All right, Tyler, we got to get into it. Let's talk WrestleMania weekend. Let's talk WWE.
Let's do it. Okay, this has become a tradition. Before we get into WrestleMania formally, Steph Watch, Brad Winchester. Steph Watch. I don't know if you see my new background, by the way. Shout out to those watching on YouTube.
Did not notice it.
I don't know if I've ever purchased a Wrestler's 8x10, but I have now, and I feel great about it. If you are listening, I have obtained a Stephanie Vaquer 8x10 WWE shop approved, and she is now with us on every episode, not just content-wise, but visually as well. That being said, Brad, here we go for Stephanie Vaquer to kick us off. She returned to Chile. Amazing. Love that for her. Again, she is just winning week in and week out, outside of the ring, inside the ring, and definitely outside of the ring. Thought this was really interesting. I don't know if this came across your timeline. In an interview with Rock and Pop FM, Vaquer shared that WWE originally told her, get this, we can't afford that. Good luck at AEW, referring to the alleged contract that AEW was offering her. Yeah, I just saw this before we recorded it. This is a great organic Winchester reaction, by the way. Brad is looking very surprised. This is a real thing. Shout out to Fightful for putting this on my radar. Of course, this happened during last year's contract negotiation following Vaquer's standout performance versus Mercedes Moné at AEW Forbidden Door. Can't believe that's coming up on a year ago. Wow. Vaquer said Shawn Michaels called her. And then after, so Shawn Michaels apparently wasn't the person who said we can't afford that quote, but Michaels called her after and kind of, I guess, had a heart-to-heart. And after that conversation, and after Vaquer confided in her dad about which company to sign with, she ended up choosing WWE. So there's certainly a big winner in all of this as well. That seems pretty miraculous. I don't know what Shawn Michaels did, but clearly the Heartbreak Kid still has it. He has some motion. I learned that word recently, Brad. Motion. So good for Steph Vaquer. She is winning. I think she's going to win this Saturday, by the way, at NXT Stand and Deliver. She's in a fatal four-way defending her title against Jada Parker, Jordan Grace, and a returning Julia. A Julia with
Yes.
Edge.
Yes.
This should be very good, Brad.
Yeah.
I'm picking Steph to win. I don't know about. Do you think Steph retains?
Yes.
Okay.
I think Steph wins
That's really
every single thing.
Very good.
I caught part of. I did catch bits and pieces of that interview or information that came out of that. Specifically, I cried every day when I was at CMLL. Just every day in tears. Just seems terrible. So, I'm just glad seems like she's super happy and she's thriving in WWE.
Amen. Well said. I can't agree more. Okay, here is my question. So obviously we have so much wrestling content heading into this weekend, but of course we're specifically focusing on WWE. We have Stand and Deliver on Saturday morning, bright and early, and then night 1 of WrestleMania Saturday night, night 2 on Sunday. My question is pretty straightforward after all of this preamble. How are you feeling heading into this weekend? And which match, NXT or WrestleMania proper, are you most excited for?
Mine's going to be a very similar question to yours. I am, of course, most excited for the triple threat match, only because I want to know how that story plays out. Because I'm really okay. Let's separate them.
I should also ask you which one. They're like 4 triple threats. I'm assuming you're not talking about
the only one that got built well that anybody cares about, really.
Okay.
And I'm sorry to say that.
We're talking about the custody of Paul Heyman match.
The custody of Paul Heyman match. The night 1 triple threat to end the show main event.
Who's winning that?
I'll say that. I have no idea. It's like, honestly, it's probably going to be CM Punk. But I'm hoping that it's, I don't know what happens there. I think the most interesting thing that could happen is that the favor is that Seth wins, Paul goes with Seth. Total swerve on both the other guys would be the best way to swerve that. Will that happen? I don't know, but it would be the most interesting way to end it. And I think nobody would be expecting that. And then have Seth just lean into the all the way heel thing again. We'll see. I don't know. I have no idea.
Get the little one blonde streak back in the.
Yes.
There.
Yeah.
I wonder. Okay. So just if I could stay with this for a moment, I wonder, because we got that tease on Raw last week where Seth Rollins told Paul Heyman, okay, now you owe me a favor.
Yeah. The fake stomp.
Is that, are we going to get that? My thought is, if we are going to get Heyman aligning with Seth, they wouldn't have done that. I mean, I get the argument of creating more intrigue, but I feel like Heyman aligning with Seth without that Raw moment, that would have been completely surprising and taken all of us, kind of taking our breath away, if you will. But now that we kind of know it's a possibility, I mean, I guess it works for intrigue's sake, but to me, the move, if it is going to be Seth, would have been, let's not see a tease of this at all. Let's be completely surprised and leave night 1 shocked.
Maybe he just drills everybody, Paul, and then RVD walks out and he leaves with RVD, and then we never see Paul again.
Okay, that would be more optimal than who I thought you were going to say.
That's why I said RVD.
Okay, very, very good. You got me. The heart rate went up a little bit.
So here's how I'm feeling about this. What else can you tell me about Monday Night Raw that was memorable outside of that segment at the end of the show?
I did enjoy, this is another triple threat. Well, Io Sky, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley. We know, speaking what you said, the build to the match.
It's been terrible.
Certainly less consistent.
I also felt like I just saw what they did 3 different times in the past month. And it just seems like they just...
That drop kick was snug on Rhea, by the way. I was like, oh my gosh, I hope Rhea's nose is okay.
Yeah, it was a lot.
We have a, I was going to say a Rip Hamilton situation, but we've seen Rhea with the mask. That was...
Yeah, it was the way that her whole body went, and I was like, "Ooh, yeah, that connected." She looked fine at the UFC event.
Yeah,
so
okay, exactly. Io might be too good with those drop kicks, because that was. You're right, though. We saw Rhea pop up at UFC and seemingly all is well.
Because the thing that I thought was like, oh, that was the most. I don't know. There's just everything has been so kind of lackluster. I'm not really invested in any of the other matches all that much. Like even Jey Uso, Gunther, it's going to be great. They'll do the Bianca Sasha video package that will save that entire thing. It ended up being one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time. Certainly for importance, but also a great match. I can still hear the whip crack sound echoing through eternity across Sasha's stomach, but it's like that build was apocalyptic. And then we had that match and it was great. So I know, like, no matter what, Tiffany Stratton, Charlotte Flair, that's going to be fun. And it's also that edge that it has is also super interesting.
Which we discussed last week, that this is going to end up working out well. This is going to be, I think, for most fans, as anticipated as anything possibly other than the main event, and it's worked out well. They had the segment this week where Charlotte beat Tiffany up. Charlotte wearing street clothes, looking like a badass. I think this match is going to deliver.
I think so too. But we also have Io, Bianca, and Rhea in a triple threat. They've had matches against each other, like one-on-one with interference, so often that I feel like we've seen 8 of these matches already. And I'm just like Jey Uso and Gunther. I'm just kind of ready for the feud to be over. I'm kind of ready to move on. And that sucks.
Which is not where you want fans at heading into your biggest show of the year.
No, because Jey winning and getting that title would be great. I don't think it will be any better than him winning the IC. Like, which one would you think is going to have the bigger impact?
I'm glad that we've unveiled the new segment, Hot Take Brad, Hot Take B.
I don't think it's a hot take. Like him winning was like that was it, man. Like
it was a moment, yeah.
Huge.
He defeated Braun Breaker as well, right? Who was
him winning the championship or him winning the Rumble?
What's going to be a bigger?
Yeah, I'm just asking you, just like which one? What are you taking here? You don't have to say anything. I saw it on your face, so we'll move on.
The hesitation, the silence speaks for itself.
Oh well, the title is obviously more quote prestigious, but I don't think it is. Like you can win a title at any point in the year in a Rumble once.
It's true. I just think the Vegas crowd is going to be so up for his win. And granted, I mean, you had a football stadium obviously for the Royal Rumble, but I just think Vegas, the euphoria, the song. To me, I think that's what's really going to take it over the edge is, people are going to be up for Jey Uso. But I hear you in terms of the build, in terms of where we were at, a few months ago with the character, he just lost a ton. And now it seems we could have, I wanted Jey Uso to win at Saturday night's main event.
Yeah. Which would have made
months ago.
Yeah.
And now we're here where I have no doubt he's going to beat Gunther, but I think the crowd's going to be up for it. I think it's going to be, it'll
be a great moment for sure, but it's not going to be the same. I think it'll be really great. It won't be the same because the build has been so bad. They've wrestled so many times already. And it's just like, just get there faster. It's people talk about legendary feuds. I just don't put this in there. Just because you wrestled against each other a lot doesn't make it legendary.
Where would you slot this match on the card?
I think
you have it open the show?
No. If the main events are the triple threat match for the soul of the industry, Cody Rhodes and John Cena, then I would put the women to open since they can't close.
The women's triple threat.
No, all of the women.
Okay.
I would go.
And by the way, the triple threat, Io defending her title against Bianca and Rhea, that's night 2. I have it in front of me.
That is night 2. Yeah. And since we have a women's tag in there, I would open. I would open with Io, Bianca, and Rhea on night 2 and close with Cody and Cena.
Sure. Night 1?
Night 1, I would go Tiffany Charlotte.
Wow.
I would open with Tiffany Charlotte and I would close with the triple threat because otherwise we have Jade Naomi.
Titles. Yeah. Jade Naomi. Very excited. That may be my pick, by the way, for my question. Jade Naomi.
Jay and Gunther, I would put the co-main event because that's what they'll call it, but the second to last match on the card before the triple threat.
Yeah.
Put it toward the end of the night and put it in kind of a more prestigious spot. WrestleMania is that interesting thing where it's like they're all prestigious.
And to your point, I think there could be a moment for an interaction with Jay. Jay's going to win. We know this. Him leaving with him. Yes, thank you. Him leaving with the title.
Yeah.
Cue up Roman's music, and then they have an interaction. That would be big.
That would be awesome. I don't know then what you do with LA Knight and Jacob Fatu, because I think that would also be a really interesting interaction. Maybe you stack the bloodline at the end of the card.
Are we sure Jacob Fatu's winning that?
God's honest truth, I forgot he was doing it.
Really?
Yeah. I don't have SmackDown, no. I'm going to tell you though, like when I go onto the internet to try to see like what happened in the shows, it's never this.
You're not alone.
I never see clips of these things.
Mhm.
Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano has had an actual good build. It's just also like nobody really cares. El Grande is getting unmasked. So, or do you think Rey gets unmasked and he has the little piercings back?
Did I tell you I dressed up as Rey Mysterio?
Yes.
One year. What was Sans mask? So when you bring up the ear, it has personal relevance for me. How about that? I love Rey Mysterio. We know this.
Were you yelling things in the street?
No.
Okay.
No. I think I was
no hootie hoo for you.
I don't think so. I think I was maybe 8 or 9 at the time.
Okay. Okay, good.
Kept my composure, luckily. I was all about the candy that night. But no, I definitely think Chad Gable has a higher chance of being revealed than Rey Mysterio's face.
I think I'll say this. How do I feel going into it? I feel like the build has been bad for 90% of the show for both nights. How do I feel about the show? I think it's going to be awesome. Like it's all very positive. Like the stories in some of these are just so infinitely better than the others that I expect really good storytelling throughout. Because that's the thing, right? Like this is the only promotion that has good storytelling. The other promotions don't. That's the thing that everybody says. So why is it that we have some that are like Shakespeare and some that are like romance novel? Some of it's really incredible and some of it's pretty mid, or it's just really repetitious. It's going back to CW shows, full circle from our earlier conversation off air. Some of it is season 12 of the CW show where we've seen all of this already and it's uninteresting and we're ready for it to be over so we can move on to something new. And some of it is like, this is season 2. They're peaking right now. All these characters are nailed down and we are invested. Let's go. So it's just inconsistent. AJ and Logan Paul it's there. You know what I mean? Like there's just stuff on this card that'll be fun, but that's a typical WrestleMania match. There's going to be typical WrestleMania things that are there just to be entertaining and not have to tell a story. And I have to keep reminding myself that I'm on the internet talking about this stuff like it's some kind of cultural art significance that will change our futures forever when it's like show for kids. I have to remind myself
record gate.
Yes.
We've charged you all infinitely more for these tickets than any other generation previously. Yeah. Yes.
I know. I love when they announce that stuff. They're like, thank you for the record gate. Those 900 seats really mean a lot. I'm sorry your nose is bleeding in the $900 seats. Yeah. It's
Who
a lot.
needs healthcare? Yes, we got the tickets. Credit card debt is still deaded, but I still got those student loans, but I'm here. We outside.
Yeah, you didn't pay your child support, but you're here tonight. Thank you.
But we're here, but we are here. I'm really excited for 2 things that I want to make sure I mention. Randy Orton and the mystery opponent. Who knows? Yes. It's possible, Brad, by the time this episode drops, maybe we have more of an idea of who it's going to be. Some are thinking the national treasure, Nick Aldis, gets in the ring for the first time in WWE.
That would be fun.
Some are thinking the move would be Solo Sikoa and rewarding him with what he's done for the past 12 months with the Mania match. I think there's an argument there. I personally would love to see a returning superstar, whether that be the aforementioned Malachi Black, whether that be the artist formerly known as Rusev.
Yeah.
So I like when WrestleMania has a surprise element. And then certainly the main event of night 2. I believe John Cena is leaving Vegas with the championship. But I'm really excited to see the spectacle of that because like you said, Brad, I think back how you described wrestling, right? The cultural art or lack thereof that it can be. I think back to last year, and obviously that's a very high bar, that night 2 main event with Roman and Cody. But I think that formula, that recipe might be replicated this year. Not that we're expecting an Avengers type scenario, but I certainly think The Rock's going to pop up. Maybe Travis Scott, who knows? I'm pretty sure we
wouldn't be shocked if it was glass breaking. I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah. I think they saw how well
he lives in Nevada. Like it makes sense.
Totally. I think they saw how well that formula worked last year. And not saying you want to exactly again replicate it, but particularly for this match for these 2 guys, very excited to see what surprises are going to be pulled out. Because I don't think it's just going to be a straight up 1-on-1 match. Cena low blows, Cena wins. I think we're going to see some of that recipe from last year, which I'm really excited for.
Well, Tyler, my question is so close that I don't know. I'll ask you anyway. So it was really about the build to WrestleMania, which is why I addressed it when you said, how do I feel about it? It's just about the build, how you feeling about it, really. But aside from the main title picture and the triple threat for the soul of the industry, this is not me just saying it over and over again. It's what Seth Rollins called it on Monday. What has been the best build outside of the main matches?
Wow. Let me look back at the card. I know we spoke about many of these matches. Aside from the main matches, what has been the best build? You know what? I might surprise you with this one. I'm so glad the New Day got a match on the card, by the way. I was
Yes.
worried that they weren't. I have
With the War Raiders, which they,
yes,
they
yes,
haven't
yes.
done that in a really long time. So I'm glad they waited until WrestleMania to have them wrestle.
I never forget. We saw this match at
Oh, that was
the
this week. My bad. Never mind.
on House show back in 2021,
Yeah,
2022.
they ran it back this week. That's why I was like, hey, it's a Tucson. And then I saw it
Yeah.
on the card and I went, oh.
I'm glad Liv and Raquel are on this card. I was watching SmackDown and I saw Bailey and Lyra Valkyria team up.
Yeah.
And granted, two single stars who I love.
I thought Bailey was okie doking there too. It was like
Yeah.
heel turn, and then it was like, oh no.
Yeah, they're awesome as single
Yeah.
stars. Them being put together for the purposes of getting on Mania. I would love to live in a world where the women's IC champ gets a match on Mania, and dare I say, the honorable Chelsea Green, our U.S. women's champ, definitely should have a match on this card. But in terms of your question, what's been the best built match? So I'm gonna go. That's not one of the prominently featured. I really enjoy what they've done with Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
Granted, we have seen these two fight before, certainly, but to build up this animosity to be worth a Sin City street fight, I definitely believe they've done that over the past few weeks. And I love me some Drew McIntyre. Damian Priest has had such an amazing ascension. So that's going to be my pick, but I also want to give an honorable mention to Braun Breaker. Obviously, we're getting Breaker v Penta v Balor v Dominic Mysterio. So not even so much the match itself, but the build of Braun Breaker as a champion. He has gone viral so many times this year. That spear, that spear to
the one at the
Carlito.
Rumble. Oh, that's one Carlito. That's whereas he had to post he's okay or whatever.
Yeah. He put Carlito posted. My funeral services are going to be happening on this date. I thank you for thinking my family. And so Braun Breaker. Not that he's just. I'm so excited that when we started the show and Braun Breaker was on NXT 2.0, you and I just went back and forth about obviously he has the lineage, he has the natural gifts. What's maybe not clicking here?
Yeah.
My gosh, Brad, since he's gone to the main roster, he has really found it. I'm so excited for him. I am of the mindset that he could be the guy to beat Jey Uso for Raw's top title. But I think just the build of not so much the four-way, but Braun Breaker as being this exciting up-and-comer, this legit champion who is making the title relevant. It's not just a placeholder. Like, when you see this guy, he's going to do something fun that is probably going to garner millions of views online. To me, Braun Breaker is also, just as a champion, worthy of being an honorable mention for your question. What say you?
Same there. I think it's not just Braun Breaker. It's Braun Breaker because of his championship reign. It's, he and Penta, that's fun, but it's really Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio having the intrigue in that match where they're like, Finn's obviously, this is it between him and Dom. This is the end. And I kind of want Dom to pin Finn and win the belt.
Wow.
I think that would be the best reason to break up.
I didn't even consider that outcome. Dominic Mysterio as IC champ, that's possible. Definitely is.
Well, he was IC champ before, right? Not US. It was IC.
Was he IC? I remember he had that North American title reign in NXT.
Oh, it was North American.
Yeah,
maybe that's what it was.
But we've seen him in a role where he's holding the mid. I know some people don't like the verbiage, but he's holding the mid card title, and some fans were into it, some were not. But there's no doubt at this point he's a draw, and he's become an invaluable, indispensable member of the roster. Which, speak about people who have had an ascension. Damian Priest, Dominic Mysterio, Liv Morgan. I guess the Judgment Day worked after all, Brad.
Yeah, I guess it did. And I think that one's the one for me. I don't really know what else I would pick, only because Jade and Naomi, though, that one also feels pretty earned. So,
Oh yeah.
so I'm gonna.
That is the answer right
That
there.
I think that's the one that I'm the most looking forward to.
That's the
Has the best build, even though there's no title on the line. I'm looking forward to it. I am also not looking forward to it because I'm scared that they're gonna go, here's your 10-minute match or 9-minute match, and that's all we're gonna give you, if even. But also, I don't really care. I just want to see it. So
for sure.
I'm just excited to see anything. I know you were excited to see a movie recently, Tyler, and you did, and now you're going to tell us about it. So play the music. It's time for GI at the movies.
And now, it's time for GI at the movies.
Okay, I must confess, this has to be one of the most highly anticipated movies of the year for me, Brad. I think you could tell as the date was drawing closer for me to see this, I was just ramping up my excitement. Obviously, I shared last week on our episode that I came in with my expectations tempered. I saw the positive reviews, but I was really thinking, okay, this movie's going to be super enjoyable or it's going to be a total dud. We will see where I land. And it turns out I was in the former. Drop, Blumhouse's latest thriller film, was great. Great as it goes for, I'm going to the theater to laugh, to feel some suspense, and 90 minutes later, I'm going to be happy with what I purchased. This knocks it out of the park. It's directed by Christopher Landon. Brad, you may recall, this is really in that same universe as Happy Death Day, and
Yes.
some of those kind of like even Megan. We saw the trailer for Megan, by the way, Megan 2.0, which admittedly I have not seen that, but I've heard good things. So Drop premiered at South by Southwest back in March, and again has garnered all of this excitement. The movie revolves around the protagonist Violet Gates, who's a widowed mother whose abusive husband Blake died by suicide before they had started dating. So it's interesting because the film begins with a flashback to that relationship and how abusive it was. And there's actually a child involved too. So they've been together, they have this child together, and then this dude Blake is a total scrub and is not good whatsoever. And then we get a flash forward to what Violet is doing today. And then for the next 90 minutes, it is all about Violet's first date, now back as a single woman. So she meets a guy through an app. They meet at this skyscraper Chicago restaurant, and pretty soon into the meal, Violet starts getting these aggressive airdrops. So there's this Digi-Drop app. So I guess they can't use the Apple property, but Violet gets these apps, and it's the popular memes you see online. But they start getting more and more aggressive, and the whole purpose is the person sending these drops eventually says, "I need you to kill your date. I know where you live. We have eyes on your son and your sister." Violet's sister is babysitting the son back at home. "You must kill your date. You must follow my directions." And what's cool, Brad, is artistically, we see the text or the airdrops that Violet gets. We see the text of those messages pop up on the screen. So stylistically, it's really neat. It's not like we're just reading off of Violet's phone for a half an hour. We actually see it stylized pretty fun. It kind of reminded me of John Wick in that way. But this film is an absolute blast. Brad, you and I are big fans of whodunit stories. Yeah. This kind of takes a new spin on it because we know the person airdropping has to be, they say in the movie, within 50 feet of Violet. So for an hour, all of us in the theater were just thinking and just wondering, who is the person? Who is this diabolical character? And what's neat is the film really plays up on who it could be. There's a really eccentric waiter. The bartender seems very nice, but you wonder, is that kind of a pump fake? Once again, there are all these different elements of the way the film was shot and how they developed these characters that I really enjoyed. Again, it's a really tight 90 minutes. It has about a 90% rating on Rotten Tomatoes right now. So I am not alone in this. From what I'm reading, it's grossed nearly $3.5 million worldwide. Has a budget of $11 million, but I'm certainly hoping, as you tweeted out, I'm hoping that more folks will be able to see it. And whenever you get the chance to see this, Brad, I think you'll enjoy it. I think Jessica will enjoy it as well, dare I say. It's a thriller for sure, but it's not scary. It's just very much on the suspense realm. And then once the reveal happens, which I actually quite enjoyed, it gets even more fun from there. Really, really enjoyed Drop. You got to see it. I would say if you can, actually see it in the theater. And of course, if you saw it or when you see it, let us know what you think at GIPod19.
Well, that's awesome. I'm going to check it out. I really wanted to see this. We talked about it when we initially watched the trailers like a year ago, I feel. Or
feels like that.
Was it? I don't even remember when we
it was.
Wow,
it was at the start of the. It was at the start of the year, I think.
Yeah, that tracks. Everything feels like forever.
I think I sent you that in January.
Yeah.
And you may even recognize Megan Fahey, Brad. Please, I would feel remiss if I didn't say Megan Fahey plays Violet. She does an exceptional job. I remember seeing her in White Lotus a season or two ago. She's the protagonist for this film. Brandon Sklenar. I meant to look this up. He plays her date, which he did a really fantastic job. Handsome dude, nailed his lines. Played by actor is Henry Campbell. So it was. I'm sorry, Henry Campbell is the character's name. Brandon Sklenar is the actor. It was really good. There were parts of it. I think you and I are similar when we see these movies where you know it's entertainment. You know you're here for the movie, but part of you wonders, oh, was that realistic, or did that kind of get me off track of believing this story? I thought Henry's outfit for a first date was interesting. He's a photographer, but the outfit was giving he was an extra in Indiana Jones, or he played in the local theater company's Indiana Jones.
That name sounded familiar, so I had to look it up. And he's in 1923, which is a great show. 1923 is on Paramount Plus. It is in the Yellowstone universe, but he's one of the sons of Harrison Ford's character in the show.
Get out of here.
If you don't watch Yellowstone, I understand why. 1923 is completely and totally worth your time. It's an incredible show and he is awesome in it. But when you said he was dressed like an Indiana Jones character, and in this movie he's like a safari adventurer guy from around that same time period,
clearly he kept the clothes from that. And again, he was awesome in this. I just thought, what's not working here, if anything? And again, the plot, the airdrops, you decide if it worked for you or not. I was pretty bought in. I believed it. There were some parts of this where I was like, "Ooh, that might be a bit of a stretch, or too much time lapse there." But if anything, the attire for Henry Campbell, Violet's dressed up. Henry showed up. I guess he was just relying on the blue eyes and the nice smile, but it was just giving Indiana Jones. But apparently it worked for him. I won't give any spoilers, but this film was awesome. And I can't wait for you, Brad, and all of our listeners and viewers to check it out.
Well, that's great. I'm hoping they make the money this week, because next week I think it's going to be a bit of an uphill climb. I don't know if people are as hyped as I am for Sinners, but everything I've read about it, everything I've heard talked about, this movie is going to rule.
Confirmed.
They also filmed it specifically with several elements in IMAX format. So I think I'm probably going to try to go catch it in the IMAX and watch it the way that it was supposed to be watched. So I don't know if we'll get to it this coming weekend, kind of a busy weekend, but hopefully by the following weekend, I'll set up some time to watch it. As we know, we'll be busy watching WrestleMania. So maybe a matinee. Who knows? Tyler, we got to talk AEW.
Yeah, we absolutely do. Very excited for Sinners, by the way. I know we will discuss that on this here very show. I'm also excited about what's happening in AEW. Brad, you called this a couple of weeks ago. Collision. The formula is working right now. Another strong, if not the strongest effort, dare I say, of Collision so far this spring. Really great episode. So good, in fact, Brad, that it made me change my question. I had a question for you before Collision, and I have a new question for you now. Originally, I was going to ask you about, is Will Ospreay dethroning Jon Moxley at All In? Does the end justify the means of what we've been subjected to with the Death Riders? But I want to prioritize my piece. I am choosing joy on this episode of GI, so I am not going to ask you that. I want to first give a shout out to Mercedes and Athena. Mercedes Moné, Athena. It's happening in Boston this week. Owen Hart Foundational Tournament. I am so excited. I think the CEO is going to leave Boston with a win. It's her homecoming. That's my prediction. So if you have thoughts, I want to hear that, Brad. But I want to stick with Collision in honor of your question from the other week. I want to know which Collision star stood out to you most? I want to give 4 potential options. You're welcome to choose one of these talents or not. It's up to you. Megan Bain was featured. She
Yep.
beat up 2 local talents. Anthony Bowens. We have not discussed Anthony Bowens, the 5-tool player.
No, we haven't been able to, right? We recorded before the
Yes, he was spotlighted.
And we also called that. We called that.
Totally.
You called that.
Thank you. 10%. I'm right 10% of the time. Yes, I'm leaning into that. Harley Cameron. I'm so high on Harley Cameron right now. Although she lost to Athena, I just think big things are coming her way. And it's hard for me to be objective when we talk about Kevin Knight. The Jet defeated AR Fox in a really, really fun contest. Kind of reminded me of Rey Fenix versus Nathan Fraser from SmackDown a couple weeks ago. So that being said, Mercedes Athena, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. That's one of the biggest Dynamite matches of the year. But then I also specifically want to know which Collision star stood out to you most.
I think you're right. I think it's going to be Mercedes retaining just because it's Boston, but I don't think there will be no losers walking away from that match.
I can't believe we're already getting it. I thought this was going to be at the pay-per-view.
It should be.
I thought this was going to be at Glendale.
I'm going to tell you, it should be on the pay-per-view. We should have to pay for this match, but I also understand making a big TV event and making people want to tune in, and this makes me want to tune in.
It's spring breakthrough. It's a big deal.
Okay, so I'm looking at the card, trying to remember everything.
There was a lot. FTR was all over.
Bowens, I got my wish with FTR. I was like, I think they're going to turn on Edge, and I think that was one of the outcomes. And then they turned on Edge, and here we are. It's also hard not to say, even though he got killed, Brody King. I mean, Takeshita had to commit a crime, but God, that was fun. So, man, without spoiling what I have to say, because it's in my question, because I'll just say it that way. I won't make that be my answer. I think I'm going to go with Anthony Bowens, just because Anthony Bowens is so awesome, and we've known this for so long. To finally get to see him showcased as a single star, I'm just so excited. But also shout out to Gates of Agony. I wanted to throw that out there too.
Yes.
Really daddy magic. Got to throw him out there too. But yeah, I'm going to go Anthony Bowens on this one. Megan Baines looked great for a while, but we haven't seen Anthony Bowens be Anthony Bowens. We've seen him be Anthony Bowens of the Acclaimed. Mm-hmm. And I think this is just different. It's going to be awesome. I've always loved his like thrust kicks and stuff. They're always incredible. So can't wait to see what he does.
Yeah, that one he hit on Blake Christian was
yes,
was gnarly,
yes,
as it were. So as I was listening to you, I was preparing. I was hoping to disagree with you or to choose a different person for content's sake. I already shout out Harley, Kevin Knight. We know Megan Bain, and I think a case for Megan Bain could be made because this feels different. AEW brought her in, similar formula. They built her up, undefeated Jones. Then she loses the title match at the pay-per-view. Unlike past challengers, and I love these two, unlike, the virtuosa Deonna Purrazzo, unlike her Vendetta teammate Taya Valkyrie, who followed a similar trajectory when they signed, I think Megan Bain is just different, Brad.
Yeah,
that's the best. That's the best way. Megan Bain is just different. I have to assume they have plans for her, and she's not going to fall by the wayside. She has to hold gold at some point this year, so that could be an argument. But I agree with you, Anthony Bowens, for the sheer fact that he's been a tag team star throughout his duration in AEW. This is the first chance we get to see him in singles action. He has his own music. He has, new gear, on the screen. Anthony Bowens, 5-tool player. He has mic time. Yeah, like you said, he checks all the boxes. And I can definitely see a world in which, let's say, Adam Cole turns heel at some point this summer, and eventually Anthony Bowens being built to be the guy to dethrone Adam Cole. The entire presentation of Anthony Bowens mixed with, like you said, the quality in-ring work, it's just destined for stardom. The pride of professional wrestling. So on the representation front, like I just think this is going to be, forgive the pun here. I know they're heading to Boston this week. This is going to be big business for AEW. This is going to be a layup. Yeah. The fans are going to get behind Anthony Bowens, and I'm so happy that we're finally getting to see him as a single star. This is going to be awesome. I agree with you.
Shout out to Jamie Hayter though, but I'll bring her up again in a second because it's my question for you, Tyler. My question is, I kind of don't have a question, but I kind of have a question. That's what I wrote here. Timeless Toni Storm has stolen everything from everybody. She is on a class of her own. She's on a whole other level, whatever you want to say. She's just it in AEW right now. Now, Tyler, what other men's or women's talent would you like to see adopt an over-the-top character to then ditch their stale character?
Wow.
Now, before I do that, I want to shout out Toni Storm here because I'm looking at a picture of Jamie Hayter and her backstage promo where she said, Jamie, take it for me. Being a character from a different era doesn't work. I was like, oh God, I laughed so hard at that. It was
It's
so
not going to draw.
that whole thing was so good.
It was great, man.
It was she's incredible.
I know this isn't, when we approach our recordings, I always try to think, I don't just want to repeat what I said last week or the week before. I forget sometimes what I say, but my goodness, Timeless Toni Storm is just operating on another level right now. All of it's working for me. And yeah, when she ran down each of the competitors in the Owen, I was like, this is
so good.
She's just on another level. I know it's Will Ospreay's gimmick, but
she wants to make was it Harley a puppet? I can't remember.
Yeah. And wasn't it? Yeah, and you said for Jamie, she was like, it was like a compliment, and then she moved on. Hey, I like, wasn't it? I like the outfit, or no, no.
Chris Statlander.
I take that back. I was listening to you. I take that back.
It was Chris Statlander. It was like, oh, what a woman or something.
My God, what a woman. And
My God, what a woman. Yeah, so good. Yeah. And that's it. And then just moved on. Like that was it.
Yeah, we get it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah, totally. I think Stats losing to Jamie Hayter, but totally. We love Chris Statlander here. Mm-hmm. So to answer your question, man, that's, initially I would have said Ricochet, but I think he's already doing this. He's already leaning into the over the top of it all. A stale character who could use
or a character that doesn't really have a character.
No, it's a great
good at wrestling character.
Yeah. Max Castellini, best wrestler alive. Wow, that's a great question, Brad. I'm thinking of who are people on the roster right now who just feel stale to me. Adam Cole has felt that way for a while, to be honest with you. I don't know what an over-the-top character looks like for Adam Cole, but I keep thinking about when he came into the company, there was so much fervor, and now, he's holding gold, but at the same time, I don't feel like that's a great answer. Honestly, I may surprise you with this one because he's kind of been Blake Christian's valet. Lee Johnson's been with the company for a long time.
For 4 years, 5 years.
He was a part of the Nightmare sort of, he was in Cody's orbit.
That's right. He was, yeah.
I think he's really gifted, handsome dude. We know this isn't applicable to anything, but married to Julia Hart, right? Like the couple of it all, power couple Jones. I really think Lee Johnson, if he just had a character added, even if it, let's say, over the top, I think that could do wonders for him. And instead of kind of, being on ROH, occasionally popping up on AEW TV, but maybe as a valet, such as Collision, I think he could be someone that could really benefit from that. If you would have asked me maybe 6 months ago, Brad, I think my answer would have been Action Andretti.
Yes.
I don't know if
100%.
you consider his current character over the top. The vests are. We know how you feel about the vests.
The clothes are, but he still doesn't really have a character other than guy who laughs a lot.
Maybe Andretti is the answer because he picked up the signature debut win against Chris Jericho. And then since then there's been attempts, but to me, that's been the most memorable thing he's done in the company is beat Chris Jericho. And I want to say that was, what would you say? That was about 16 months ago.
Right. A lot of the people that are, I think we'll call them character deficient is there are people that float in between AEW and ROH. And I wonder if the idea is go there and find a character. So like Red Velvet, for example, the only thing that you could probably tell me about her character is she does the stir it up thing on her entrance. And after that, it's sort of like, she's just this personality that is Red Velvet, but it's not like, well, what's your thing? Like, do you have a thing? There's just nothing kind of there. Jamie Hayter doesn't really have that big of a character. She doesn't need to. She's just really big in general. Like she just has this, I'm trying so hard to avoid aura, but I can't. But it's that, like, some people just have that thing you can't define.
Yeah, she's
The
got it.
Timeless Tony, that character is working. But Roderick Strong, he was Roderick Strong, really great wrestler, and then he put on the glasses and started screaming at him. And that's all that character needed, was like this ridiculous thing that he was doing. And suddenly he became more than. And since then, it's, he still yells and people aren't as invested. But I think Big Bill would be a really good one.
I thought about him.
Yeah. I think
is he leaving the learning tree? They
God, I hope
that,
so.
but...
It's time for him to be a champ on his own.
Amen. Why he is not the ROH World Champion?
Why is he not the AEW World Champion? Put him in there and have him kill Jon Moxley. And when the rest of the Death Riders jump into the ring, they hit him, and he just turns around and stares at him and boots them into oblivion. That would be the end of the Death Riders. Just one Big Bill was all it would take.
Largest human being I've seen wrestle. I couldn't agree with you. He has everything, much like Anthony Bowens.
Yeah, so I mean, he would be a really good one because he's already been in he was in a tag team that was completely over the top, right? Like he did that in WWE. So I could see him easily just doing stuff. And when he cranks up his like heel, you're all being crybaby stuff in the ring, it's super over the top. I love that. I want to hear him on the mic doing stuff because he's totally capable. And that's the thing that people talked about before. It was like, oh, he's just not very good in the on the mic. He's great in the ring, but he's not a great talker and stuff. It's like, he's a great talker. We just don't hear him talk. Every time he talks, it's great. So I don't really understand that whole line of thinking. So I would love to see that for him. On the women's side, somebody like Robin Renegade, I would love to see that. Wow, because nice. Robin Renegade works if it's the Renegade twins, because their whole gimmick is they're twins and they're the same. But if you have them be just talent, all I know that their character is they are twins. So I still like give us something there that I think would really work. And I don't know what that something would be, because it's just, what's that character? I just want to know more about these characters, because both of the guys in Top Flight, no character. They are Top Flight, really good wrestling. Basically every luchador that doesn't do anything in English, I don't know anything about their characters other than they do lucha wrestling.
And sticking with Top Flight, even Layla Gray is a name that I would throw out.
Yeah.
I love me some Layla Gray.
Yes.
But character-wise, okay, she's kind of got the stewardess vibe, if you will, and she's with Top Flight and directing traffic, or at least she was doing that.
But that's sort of like Julia Hart being a cheerleader.
Yeah, and Layla Gray
did that thing, and now look at what she's doing.
For sure, Layla Gray's been in the business. She had a run as OVW champ.
Yeah,
she has the bona fides that I think she's certainly a deserving candidate here. Also, just quickly, I wanted to say, Brad, to your point about the women's division, I was, maybe still am, really hopeful for the Vendetta with Deonna Purrazzo and Taya Valkyrie. I don't know if you would classify that as over the top, but
Taya for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Taya for sure. It's been great. It's awesome. Yeah. That it's not on AEW. It makes me crazy.
Because that was going back to when Deonna Purrazzo debuted in the company. Okay, she had that feud with Toni Storm. I think Toni Storm was actually a heel then. As a matter of fact, Deonna Purrazzo was
outsider, right?
Yeah, the babyface we were rooting for, the tattoo removal and all that stuff. But when Deonna Purrazzo came in, okay, we knew she's the virtuoso. What does that mean? We started to learn more about her. But then what is next? And she just kind of fell in that shuffle of the women's division and hasn't been in that level of that highly profiled of a match since that first pay-per-view match with Toni Storm. So I would even say, what are we doing with the Vendetta? Because I've really enjoyed what they've done. I just don't know that we've seen it consistently enough on TV. So you have to give talent the characters and support them with creating the characters. And then we just want to see them consistently enough. In the case of the Vendetta, I want to see them more. But I also want to throw out Layla Gray. I think she's spectacular.
It's why they need a women's tag. It just needs to happen because it'll get more women on TV and more often. And that will lead to more singles matches when it's like, oh no, you did this during the tag match and now I want to fight you. And it's just simple. Because they do wrestling as well, if not better than anybody or everybody in AEW. It's just a lot of the times it's like, like one of your favorite wrestlers in the world, Hologram.
Yes.
Couldn't tell you anything about that dude.
Not ironic. I love me some Hologram.
Hologram, Beast Mortos. I don't know anything about their characters.
Mortos, yes.
I don't know anything about them.
I
There's
should
just
have
all
said
these
Mortos.
different.
Yep. Mhm.
Well, there's Hologram, Mortos. Again, pretty much every luchador that's on the roster doesn't have a character. The closest we get is Serpentico, and it's incompetent fool.
Roosh
Always getting
was.
killed.
They were building up Roosh and
Unmasked.
LF.
It's unmasked. There's anybody wearing a mask seems to not really have a character.
LFI.
We had it with Penta.
Mm.
That's the last mask character I can remember. Maybe I'm forgetting somebody, but if there's a mask on somebody in there, they just seem to not have a personality. And it's like, I know that's not true because they're super engaging. I just don't know what their thing is other than I want to wrestle. Maybe that's what the point is. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it because all of the other pro wrestling stuff has corrupted my thinking. But no, truly, like, but if you have a Toni
corrupted
Storm,
is the right verb, yeah.
Well, I mean, like if you have somebody like Toni Storm or you have somebody like MJF, and you have these big characters that are maybe not over the top, but they're like, you know who they are and you know what they want and you know what drives them. And you have all these things. And then you also have, I just wrestle really well. It just feels like you're cobbling stuff together and there's no consistency. And it's like, do I have to have it? Maybe not, but it's just weird when it's like, I'm going to take this wrestler and have him with this character. And there won't be a story there, but this one already always has a story. And this one is just also there. It's how do you get me invested in these characters that are going to put on these bangers, but I don't even know why they're there or whatever. Like, why aren't those no character having luchadors also in main title pictures ever? They're always just wrestling the other no character luchadors. Kind of pisses me off because it turns it into like what the LWO does. It's just, let's have the Latin guys fight the not Latin guys or fight the Latin guys and just not really get there, or have the Latin guys fight guys dressed like Latin guys.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Grande Americano, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah. And, you know, using that logic, Brad, hologram, I know we don't necessarily go off the ranking system anymore in AEW, but correct me if I'm wrong, hologram has not lost.
I don't think he's lost. Yeah.
He should be challenging Jon Moxley.
He should be the
at this
number
point.
contender
He's
right
like,
now.
He's like 25-0.
Yeah.
He's got arguably the best record in the company.
And it'll be a squash. And people will like be rooting for hologram, but it'll be a squash. And then he'll go right back to wrestling luchadors again. And it's just going to be the same thing on repeat until they figure out a way to build a character around those guys, or at least build a story around them. And they've only really successfully done that with tags, with like the Lucha Brothers, but having Penta and Rey Fenix win that tag championship was amazing. Number one of my favorite entrances of all time. Number two, what a moment when they beat the Bucks. And then later in the evening, Kenny loses. They stand there. I think Nick comes out with the ice pack, right? Because they had just lost. That whole show was incredible. That might be the peak of AEW, if I'm being honest. Like, that might be where the show went. I don't know if we're topping this ever, because this was just such a great show, start to finish. All the stories paid off. None of the stories involved people that didn't have a character. I just want to have all these people have a character so we can see them doing more meaningful things, so that when I go to a live event, people don't get up to go to the bathroom. They stay to watch this awesome match because they're invested in what happens.
Mm-hmm. And you have examples on the roster of when this works well. It's magic. We've obviously highlighted Timeless Toni Storm. It seems like we do every week at this point.
Yeah.
Also, quick plug for the website, gimmickinfringementpod.com. We have a new article up about Hangman Page, the main character of AEW, and how incredible his character work has been over the last year. You have examples of
who took an over the top role.
Yes.
He went from like, what is it? Angsty
millennial cowboy.
Yeah. To rage filled, drooling, spitting, fire in the eyes, fire in the house, angry cowboy that just is out to murder everybody. Like, that's, but he went from this little thing to when we saw him in Phoenix screaming and bug-eyeing at people. And it was just totally different. Just one change.
And the crowd and the crowd was it large. I mean, I don't know if it was 50-50, if you recall, Brad, a year ago when we saw Swerve versus Hangman, number one contenders match.
It was pretty close to 50-50.
Yeah. There were definitely people. Yes, you're right. It wasn't necessarily people booing Hangman, but now I think all of us are on his side. We're getting the story of the potential reconciliation between Swerve and Hangman. I mean, yeah, the graphs are incredible and it's just going to be amazing, but it's the story investment where all it took was that backstage segment between Swerve and Hangman when Swerve effectively, he doesn't apologize, but he says, I know I was wrong. Hangman says, what did you say? Brief pull apart. Like that gave me as much chills as anything I've seen in the ring this year from AEW. So the formula's there.
I mean, it's incredible. Hopefully they can build on this. Hopefully they're watching or listening right now. But hopefully they also stay tuned to this. I've been looking forward to this because I really don't know what to expect here. I want to get into it. Time for live event, Jones. Play the music.
This is going to be different. Hang with me. Hear me out. One of the perks of working at Arizona State University is that you get paid time off to volunteer, should you choose to use it, at an approved local organization in the area. So, Brad Winchester, two of my colleagues and I made our way to the Boys and Girls Club in Glendale, the Sands Club specifically. Shout out to all the great folks over there. And so we went in not knowing exactly what our role was going to be. We had a menu of items. We expressed what we wanted to do. The people there were super gracious and said, okay, we'll accommodate you and go from there. So we got a tour of the facility. There was an arts room. You could also read with kiddos. And these are largely kids, elementary age, also some middle school, a few high schoolers, but largely elementary. And so ultimately after the tour, after we get the official rundown of all the options, I end up on the basketball court volunteering to play dodgeball with about 20 third graders. This was my moment, Brad. I said, would I like to play dodgeball? Of course. I am claiming this role. And so they introduce me. I get to hear from all the kids. They go over the rules and responsibilities. And at some point it's decided, okay, this is going to be a classic battle of the sexes. The boys versus the girls. And of course I am with the girls team. The boys have maybe 12 kids there. The girls, there's like 6 or 7 plus me. And Brad, when I tell you, I did not realize how cutthroat third graders are. This was as intense.
Vicious.
This was as intense as any recent athletic competition that I've taken part in. The third grade boys were sizing me up the whole time and doing this. Like, you remember in 300, don't one of the characters say like, off with his head?
Yeah.
None of the boys said that, but that was exactly the vibe they were doing. They were like taunting me and doing a bunch of things. And then, Brad, I took it. I don't know how you are with Freya in these sorts of environments. I took it way too seriously. I got too competitive. I had multiple headshots, and luckily they were the foam dodgeballs, so they weren't the ones that sting. But there were some times where I threw it, and I hit boys in the face, and they really sold it. Clearly they're wrestling fans, because they absolutely sold it. I was like, enough where I said, oh shoot, did I hurt Curtis? And then one of Curtis's teammates would come and hit me. So they were totally working in unison. They were really playing it up. It was hilarious, man. So it made me think. So again, it was a great outing. I was there for like an hour, just dripping in sweat. And I don't think that's what volunteers usually do. I think there's like a balance between be competitive, but also like let them hit you and also don't injure yourself. But I was just going full steam ahead. So it made me think, right? It was really fun. Boys and Girls Club, big shout out. It made me think of this question for you. Dodgeball was one of my favorite games during PE class growing up. I, in fact, missed dodgeball. This outing made me realize I don't play enough dodgeball in my life. What is the best PE game?
Parachute game.
The parachute game.
Yeah, I'm not even going to get past that. If it's inside or outside, there's a difference. Inside,
give me both.
Okay, inside parachute game. I'll always go parachute. I love dodgeball, but parachute game, you play the game where it's like you gotta run in, you gotta grab a ball and then get out before the parachute falls on top of you. I loved playing that game because if you got caught, it was over. You were out. Loved doing that. And the gym teacher would like, oh, okay, there's only 2 left. There's 3 of you. Good luck. And then it would get feral.
And there's no disputing when you get out, right? Because that could be the criticism for dodgeball. And that happened during the volunteering was inevitably some of the kids got in their feelings because it was, no, you didn't hit me. That didn't hit my ankle. That
Right.
was it like
Yeah.
that with parachute? Was there that gray area where you could say
Oh,
you
I'm
didn't get hit,
sure.
or it was
I'm sure.
okay? It wasn't any more definitive than dodgeball where people
No.
can say, no, that didn't hit me. I dodged it, and then
Yeah.
drama happens.
Yeah. Outside, I got to go kickball. I
Kickball.
love me some kickball. Kickball was
is
so much
goated.
fun, man. Yeah, I love doing that. But that was always recess. So PE, man, that's tough. I think I'm gonna have to go parachute game, or anytime you get the opportunity to do a race on a furniture dolly where you have to wear flat and like roll on the thing with the little wheels on it.
Is that a Midwest thing? I don't know if I've ever done that.
Now we've done it out here too. I know people have done it. Yeah, it might be a Midwest thing, but it's like you go on a little cart, basically a square piece of wood with wheels on the bottom of it. It's a furniture dolly, and then you roll on it.
They do that at a lot of assemblies as well.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, I've seen.
Yeah, so those were always fun. And then there were some other things in there, but dodgeball is a go-to. Parachute game I always loved. When the parachute came out, everybody was excited.
Yeah, that's a great choice. I love it. I miss those days. Simpler times.
Yeah. Now, I will say, I'll add on quickly here. We used to do the senior camp out. It was like the seniors' last day. That night, they would stay. We would stay overnight. They'd play games. They would do stuff. They'd set up tents, and we would split them, boys and girls. And hardly anybody stayed by the tents anyway, and nobody ever ended up sleeping. It would just be go by the bonfire or hang out, talk to each other, play games. And one year they did Red Rover, and Red Rover is pretty fun when you're young. It is a dangerous game when you are 19, 18, 17, making a giant line, and you have D1 recruit linebackers on the other side. And it's Red Rover, send the Incredible Hulk on over. And long story long, we had a kid, like, I can't remember if it was a sprain or a break of an ankle. People were all banged up and bruised. You can't play those games just because your biomass has increased so much that you just can't do it. Like, you don't get boo-boos anymore. You get broken things and injuries. And one of the kids had to walk across the stage with crutches the next week for graduation. And then they had glow sticks, and they ended up going into the air like, yay. And then I was way away from it. I was by the bonfire, and I remember watching them turn sideways. And one of my kids walked across the stage with a black eye because she got hit in the face with the glow stick. So just stuff like that. I miss being little and doing those things. It's not the same when you get older. I think the parachute game would be terrifying now, but I would do it. Tyler, what did we miss?
I have just one note for what did we miss. WrestleMania week, lots of wrestling happening, obviously, but it's not just WWE, and it's also not just AEW this week. A lot of local promotions are running in Vegas and the thereabout areas. They're having lots of events. One I want to quickly spotlight: Ashe Wrestling is hosting an event in Vegas. It's going to be on Thursday, I believe, at 11:30 a.m. It will be streaming. If you go to ashewrestling.com, you can purchase the event. The show is headlined by two matches I'm super excited for. The King Bees versus Fire and Flava. So we are going to get to see Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz reunite. Very excited for that. And then a 10-man tag team match, Team Darius Lockhart versus Team Darius Carter. Support Ashe Wrestling. Support wrestling and wrestlers this week. It should be a really special time. How about you, Brad? What did we miss?
I only have one thing on my notes as well, and it is completely unrelated. It's actually video game related. I saw that Ubisoft, the company that makes Assassin's Creed and several other franchises, is being sued. We were talking in the production meeting, and I said I had a note that's related because it's related to DVD, video game, Blu-ray, song, album purchases, all of those things. When we buy those things, they're not actually purchasing that thing. You don't have ownership over it at all. All you're doing is buying a license to use it. And otherwise you would own that property, which would be weird. Like, I can't just buy Batman. I'm not the owner of Batman. If I buy a Batman movie, I don't now own the movie. That's my movie. Nobody else gets that movie. So I'm ordering a license. And what happened is there's a lawsuit because people bought this game, and Ubisoft, it wasn't a very successful sell. They just shut down the servers, and it's an online game that people paid for. And there's a lawsuit saying we paid for this game and you're not allowing us to pay for it. We own the game. You have to. And they're like, you don't own the game. You own a license to it. And that license is done. So I'm really curious to see how this lawsuit plays out, because I think it'll affect the way we purchase things in the future, or the way that they have to at least describe what this means. And I very curious to see how this works out, and what the end game is here.
Wow, I was not aware. That's definitely something to keep an eye on. I remember that company really well. I've had multiple games
Yeah.
with that. It's like
Yeah.
make me think of my GameCube days.
Yeah.
Back
yeah,
when I was playing
yeah.
dodgeball every Thursday.
It's,
Life was
oh man.
life was amazing.
Yeah. Life was college.
I love it. Brad, I absolutely love this episode. Oh my goodness. We hope you all enjoyed this conversation as much as we have. Please be sure to follow us at GIPod19 for exclusive show updates and more. Again, we want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear your predictions. Leave us a comment on YouTube. Let us know on social media. We appreciate all of the 5-star reviews. We thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next week. Gimmick Infringement is a part of 19 Media Group. You can listen to us on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you find podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube via the 19 Media Group channel. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.